Okay. Everybody hear me? Everybody?
No, we can't hear you at all.
That's
Can't hear you
good.
at all.
Where's the music?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yes, music.
Stuck in this lift.
Stuck
Need
in
some
this
more
lift.
music.
Need some music. Ah!
Call the engineer.
I'll press all the buttons.
Press all the buttons.
You mashed all the buttons, but nothing's working. Ah!
Very good. Yeah.
There we go.
Sanity restored.
That's my favourite message I think I've seen in the chat. I need that elevator music.
I went a bit electronic this time.
Ooh.
I like this selection this week. Very typical, very cool. We're in it, we're loving it. Good vibes, LondonFurs, online meet 336. Hello everybody and welcome to another LondonFurs online meet. Hope you are doing well. It's been an entire 3 weeks since our last meet. It's been happening. You know, is everyone doing good? I hope everyone is doing well. In terms of the LondonFurs side of things, we've been looking at trying to get in touch with our previous bar who been sending out a few emails saying that they're starting up private table bookings and stuff again, which is good news because it means that the bar we've previously used are reopening and are looking to reopen, and we are of course first in line to start booking stuff with them as and when the government allows us to do so. So the communication lines have reopened and it does feel like things are slowly starting to come back to normal. Obviously the population of the UK is slowly becoming vaccinated, so yeah, things are looking up. I mean, we're happy, we're good. We are still looking to try and hand over our Telegram group, and it's something we're going to start pushing a bit more over the next few weeks, with messages on our Telegram group and stuff. If you hadn't heard the news about that, what we're trying to do is to have the Telegram group community run rather than run by us directly, simply because we want to move our focus more to the events and stuff, and that is a decision we made about 6 weeks ago. But just as the way things have been going, we've kind of just been preoccupied with, you know, stuff like life. So once again, if it's something you're interested in doing, I have had a couple of people already message me regarding looking to help staff the Telegram chat. Do send us an email, or if you've spoken to me already, don't worry because I've got your names and we will be getting in touch over the next few weeks. Because yeah, it's something we kind of want to push and promote. If it's your first time at the LondonFurs online meet, welcome. The way this format works, if you've not been here before, is we kind of just have a pre-chat with ourselves just to sort of catch up with everyone and let you all know what we've been doing. Following that, I will introduce some of the staff that are here today and just check in with them. It's kind of a bit of an open forum style thing, so if you want to put a message in the event chat, we do read the event chat while broadcasting this section, and and we will move into an interview with a very special guest that we've got with us this time round. Writer and author Ryan Campbell, aka Pendragon. We will be getting into that interview a bit later on, so if you have any questions for Pendragon as well, please just put them in the event chat and we will seek to ask them. And yeah, following that, we all will close this event voice and we all jump in the sort of voice chats. And this week, actually, I'm quite excited because I don't have any plans following this, so I'm not going to have to dart off. So I will be sat around drinking, having a good time and looking to catch up with some of you all. So please come and hang out and come and say hello. Yeah, and don't feel like you need to run off. And there'll be some games rooms and stuff opening as well. We are trying to push people to host their own games, so if that's something you want to do, feel free to jump in one of the game rooms and just begin streaming, and you'll find people will join, or feel free to jump in the voice chat rooms to find other people, and yeah, let's get a bit of a meet going, try and get our social buzz going around again, because I'm sure, like everyone else during this lockdown, you've kind of been might not been socializing as much as you'd like to have been. Who knows? Anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Let's say hello to our first member of Staffaroo. Atlas, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really good actually. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. Very, very good. Just tired today after work, but you know.
Oh, same. I've had to read thousands of different articles for a position paper I'm writing for my MUN Society, Model United Nations.
Okay. That sounds pretty intense.
Yeah. Also, I ordered it from a new Vietnamese place, and I'm having some spicy wings. So if I sound like I'm crying, I'm not. It's just these wings are really hot.
You're always eating during these things. I've noticed that.
Hey, it's good to eat.
Every time you're eating, so it's fine. I'm not judging. Eating is a good thing. I'm just saying, every time we do one of these, you're always eating. But hey, I don't judge you for that. I love you for it.
Thank you.
Bav, how's it going, buddy?
Well, thank you. Cheers.
Nice. What have you been up to?
The usual work, stream, arting. I've been recently spending more time in VR, so that's been great. Like spending more time in VR chat.
I've been
I
noticing
hate to
you
say it.
just disappeared. It's like I used to have a friend, and now
Yeah,
he's
I'm
just
gone,
like
like,
this,
I'm
become this
like
VR being.
entering the world of cyberspace. But like, yeah, I can see why it's so popular. I mean, I'm now hooked on it. I can probably share a few shots in the event chat. So last night I was playing Crazy Golf, and there's actually a crazy golf course in VR chat, which is impressive. Like you actually hold the club and everything, and you got to tap it, and there's like more than 18 holes. So you can see there's a picture of me there trying to.
Oh, amazing!
Some few people there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. If like I said, I could say again, if everyone gets the opportunity to try VR, I highly recommend VR chat. It's just great, and it's something that I think we've been trying to look into as well, trying to incorporate LondonFurs into VR chat, maybe a place to hang out and meet other people. And it's another great place to go, given the lockdown still in effect. But maybe this is something we can tap into, especially after like an online thing, aside from our Discord groups and stuff like that. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, that looks super cool, man. I keep, I'm trying not to spend money at the moment, but I'm just so tempted by it.
I can tell you,
But,
I can tell you, it's something. Once you try it, once you experience it, you just don't want. You start to think, "Damn, I should have been on this sooner." That's
you
the
just
feeling.
go, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So I still got my friend. He's not gone.
I'm still there.
He's in VR every now and then. Good. All right, mate. Blue the Madaroo.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Well, being back at school is good.
Nice.
So yeah, finished. Well, yeah, I think I'm on last courses for the 3 BTECs that I'm doing. So that's also nice. And productivity has gone through the fucking roof.
Excellent. I was gonna say it must be just like, as much as it's a small thing going back to get back, just it must just be like coming in
It's-
floods now. You know, just like you creativity and wanting to just work hard. No, it's good.
Yeah,
It's
it's the
good that you're-
workspaces. Workspaces. I can't say enough for them. Absolutely. If you don't have a workspace, you need a workspace, because if you don't have a workspace, productivity, you can put that thing in the bin. Ah, boy. Yes.
Nice, very very good. Well, yeah, that's positive. I hope I feel the same way when I go back to the office. Just-
Yes. One hopes so as well.
Yeah. Good. Well, good to chat, buddy.
Indeed.
Who have we got here on the list? The naughty list. Latimer, what have you been doing?
I'm not naughty. How dare you?
You're always out and about, always up to something.
Yeah, where I'm allowed to, yeah. You know, I've been to see more trains again. To just a couple hours ago,
Nice.
got back. It's not that far from where I am at the moment, so and empty field. Went to see some more of the fast trains down the East Coast line. So yeah,
I still can't
It's
get
always
over
good.
the quality of the photos you get, and considering you're using a mobile, it's just
yeah, it's
insane,
just on
isn't
my
it?
phone. It's insane. Yeah.
It's nuts. But good. But you've been keeping well and stuff. Otherwise.
Yeah, not too bad. Just toddling on with work. I'm at the end of my apprenticeship now, so I've just done the last bit of the exam stuff. So
Oh,
just
nice.
getting to the end of that. Got an interview in a few weeks, and then that's stage 1 done. So yeah,
Beautiful.
progress is being made, even though I'm semi stuck indoors for most of it.
Well, good. Good to hear, buddy, and good to hear from you. Lou Pisfer, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Oh no. What
I
have I
don't
done?
actually. I'm just kind of. I just want to put you on edge.
Oh no.
What,
I'm on edge now.
what's happening? Now I'm on edge. How are you doing?
All right.
Hmm.
Last time you heard me complaining about heart rates, stuff like that. Seems to have
Yeah.
calmed down a bit now, so that's good. Other than that, it's work. You know, that thing we all like to do.
A thing.
The other thing I'm working on is the story. I also mentioned this last time, which is probably going to be a
Yes,
recurring
you did.
theme because it's going to be quite a long effort. I've also been playing around with Unity, the game engine, learning about how to do these things. For those who don't know, I used to work in the video games industry, but it's been quite a long time since I was in that. And it's quite interesting to see how far things like Unity have come. But you know, that's
I bet
basically
there's
me.
people that are listening to this that were that are in it at the moment. So try and catch up with people and get into it. I mean, I used to create music, and I'm the same in terms of like Logic, whether like how much Logic's changed, and whether people are still using stuff like Logic or they're using other software. and bits
Logic's
now,
cool. Yeah, I also have Logic as well. It's one of those things you can quite easily get lost in. I've got a lot of
Just lose hours.
Surface stuff as well. So I've got like a drum machine which you can just press, and linking up to Logic is good fun.
Amazing. Yeah, I bet. I love that. Pascal's like, I still use Fruit Loops Studio. What an app. I used to love music on the PlayStation as well. That was a good one. Had like a DJ on the front of it. Yeah, I used to play a lot of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good to catch up, mate. Who have we got next on the naughty list? Noah Kitsune.
Hello.
What is happening, Noah?
Well, I've just set up my new laptop after many weeks of being hassled about. Although I just deleted pretty much everything I transferred across to my external hard drive because I was trying to sort OneDrive out because I've not used it before, and what I thought was deleting the the backup copies deleted the originals. So I've now got to spend an hour transferring my files back across again.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
The
fun
stuff of getting a new computer, right?
It's also just notified that many of my files were deleted, as if to rub salt in the wound. Lovely, thank you very much, computer.
At least it's doing the job. It's
Yeah,
not struggling. It's doing.
No, the laptop is an absolute beast. I'm looking forward. I'm just going to disappear into games now that I've got a Windows machine again.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I've been half tempted to get a PC, but I just, again, it's money. It's like I've got to stop spending money on things that I'm just like, yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. It's like, no, stop, think.
Oh no, my problem was my Mac was just dying. It was crashing. The fan makes a horrible noise. It needed to be replaced. It was 5 years old, so.
Yeah, 5 years is a good amount of time for it.
It is really good innings for a laptop, actually.
But no, good that you got it sorted, because I know it was stressing you out. So.
Oh God, it has been.
Happy for you.
The saga has come to an end.
And talk of coming to an end. Let's bring in Tam Wolf.
Hey, buddy. A happy ending. Happy endings all round.
Happy endings for everyone.
That's the LondonFurs guarantee right there.
No matter what, you'll get a happy ending.
No matter what, whether you're happy, sad, having a good day or a bad day, happy endings. How are you doing, buddy? Though, actually, you never get to have a bit of a say about your week. How has your week been?
This week has been good, actually. Thank you for asking. And Atlas asked me, but I thought if I start going on now at the start of this, it would just be like no one will want to like listen anymore. So I figured I'd just wait, and see if someone at the end asks me. And you've asked me, yeah.
Oh, nice. So you still delivering, still collecting?
I'm still a postman, yeah. And I keep thinking, I'm just going to stop now because I'm getting bored of it. Or I actually had a bit of an incident the other day, and it kind of just made me think, why am I doing this job? But it's still nice. There's like loads of little moments of being a postman. You realise you start becoming like parts of people's day. As weird as that sounds, it's like the old lady from across the road
waving at Postman Annie. There he is with his lovely smile.
Literally, there was this one.
This cute little
lady,
bum.
I'll tell you this quick story. There's this old lady, and she like came outside, and I'm just wearing like a high vis. I haven't got like a postie uniform, sadly. One day I will have one, but I just wear like a high vis and a mask and all that, obviously. And she came outside and she was like, "Oh, are you collecting the bins, love?" I'm like, "No, I'm the postman."
And you went, "You what, love?"
I was like, "You what? Hold on, yeah, give us your bin, yeah." But yeah. So she was like, "Oh." But then every day following that, I'd see her at the same time because I'm going to the same place to collect every time, and she'd always wave. And like, I think part of her knew that I wasn't a bloody binman because it was like 2 p.m. and why would a binman be there at 2 p.m. for starters? But it was nice that like every day I see her, she waves, and then there's like certain people on your round that you see every time, and they like it's a part you slowly become part of their lives and part of their days, and it's like there's a lot of jobs where you can feel kind of not worthless, but you feel like you're just a cog of a machine, but at least in this job there's been so many occasions where you start to realize you can become parts of people's lives, and it's actually quite nice, especially during this whole lockdown stuff. It's been nice to kind of socialize and meet new people and just to chat about stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And you're not just a postman though, are you? You're an essential worker, essentially, helping to collect important things and move them around.
Yeah, I mean, important things like Zara clothes and packages and bloody.
Hey, we need our Zara clothes.
Actually, there was another old lady. Why are old ladies so sweet?
Wow, this is
old
turning into a saga. It's turning into a little sitcom, isn't it? Are you the postman that knocks twice, Annie?
No, she actually said, she's like, oh, thank you for doing the post. She's like, this is the only communication I get from my family, and it's really important to me. I was just like, oh, fucking hell, that's like, you're killing me.
It's all those happy endings you're giving them when you walk up.
Exactly, and I'm like, you know what happens here at LondonFurs? You're gonna get a happy ending.
Come on, Doris, back inside.
Anyway, enough about me and posting. What's been going on with you?
Not a huge amount. I'm still trying to keep up with my running. So I'm now in week 4 of the Couch to 5K, and I have to say, like, the more I run, the more I fucking hate it. Like, it is awful. I hate it a little bit more every time, and really, it's just my rage that gets me round the whole time. My resentment and rage right now. I am yet to that point where I'm like, oh yeah.
Easier though?
Well, no, because every week it gets harder because they increase your time. So I'm constantly in this zone of feeling rubbish. Like, I suck. Every week it gets a bit tougher, and then I'm like, oh no, I'm back to sucking. I feel like I should just do a run from week 1 just to make myself feel better, to be like, oh, I'm freaking smashing this.
That's it. You eventually you become to realize that, like, oh, when I remember at this point on this hill where I was just like hating my life. But now I'm just doing it, and I'm hating my life a bit further along the road. So it's like you're getting there. You're getting
it is happening. I mean, I did there were 2 solid 5 minutes. So for me, that was I don't think I've ever run a solid 5 minutes in my life. So I was patting myself on the back for that, at least. Are you keeping up with your running, buddy? You were doing a bit of running, weren't you?
I'm doing like 1 run a week, but I'm still doing the HIIT sessions. Like, I've been doing these Joe Wicks 20-minute HIIT sessions, and I've upped the amount I'm doing those with a bunch of furry friends, actually. And again, if anyone's listening to this and wants to join an exercise group of like-minded lazy people, come and send me a little PM on here, or send me a little message, and I'll add you to our group. But we do 20-minute sessions. We do Monday, Tuesday, day off Wednesday, but sometimes we do it Wednesday. Thursday, we do it. Friday, day off. Saturday, we do it. And Sunday, we do it. So, I mean,
it's pretty intense.
I just did that with my fingers to count how many times we actually
like a little
do it.
child in
How
school.
many days are
but
there in a week, Annie?
Did you use your toesies? Toesies as well.
Just did 7 fingers though, and we don't do 7 days. I was just like, so annoying. But so we do 5 days a week, and basically, if you want to get involved and join in as well, send me a message, because it is fantastic, and it really does change the way you feel. It's super important. I mean, I've been thinking it'd be nice to do some separate videos and make your own workouts and kind of get people to do those. So that's been
You're gonna take on Joe Wicks with little Annie workouts.
I was thinking. Came up with an idea. I'm gonna stop ranting, because I feel like I've just ranted this whole time. But actually, I want to talk to you about the idea following this. So in the voice chat following this, we're gonna have a big old meeting about this as well. So.
And Annie Wicks.
Annie Wicks. It's a cool idea. It's not Annie Wicks. That's not the idea. But it's a cool idea.
Is it where you do a workout in your fursuit until you pass out, and every day we place bets on at what time you will pass out,
at what time he wakes back up, if he wakes back up,
and then we have a live stream until 3 in the afternoon. You go, whoa, come back.
Annie Wicks making floorboards. Jeez. Anyway, let's stop and let's actually do some serious work, because we have legends with us today, and someone we're very excited to be talking to. So, would you, Signore Tan Wolf? I said Tan Wolf. Tan Wolf.
I do.
Like to introduce our special guest, please.
Yeah. Was that a drum roll?
Yeah.
Hey, that's beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our paws together for Ryan Campbell, Pendragon, author of acclaimed furry novels and all-round lovely chap. So welcome to the online LondonFurs special. Ryan Campbell, Pendragon, Snapdragon, all 3 names.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, it is
Well,
our pleasure. And where do we find you today, Ryan? Where are you?
Well, I'm in my computer office in my apartment in Northern California, slightly south of San Francisco.
Beautiful. I like that. It's like we started small and we just zoomed out and we kept zooming out.
That's a writing tip right there.
Okay, that's the first one. Write it down, everyone. We're gonna have a few of these today. Wow, beautiful.
how is the weather there? Is the weather just delicious there right now?
Oh, it's been nice. I don't know how to convert to Celsius, I'm afraid, since I almost never have to do it. But does mid 60s sound hot to you?
It sounds great.
Um,
Let's just go with great.
That's about 18
take that.
degrees Celsius. There you go.
Ah, beautiful. Yeah, that is lovely.
Yeah, it's been we've had some chilly mornings, but we're looking for nice spring days coming up.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it
We're
sounds
all sort of very
fresh.
pasty and Gollum-like in this country after crawling out of winter, and we're sort of blinking into the sun. We're like those fish that you find in caves that have never seen daylight, and they're all semi-transparent.
Just
Yeah,
going,
well, I mean, I've been basically living socially distanced in my apartment for a year now, so I haven't
God.
seen much sun either.
Oh well,
Whoa.
we're all beautifully pasty together, and hopefully we'll all get some beautiful tans. Tan Wolf. So, Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to the LondonFurs group and tell us about who you are. We know where you are. We've got that covered.
Yes. Well, um, I grew up in the South. I have a past that I typically don't tell people because it sounds unbelievable. But basically, around the time I was 18, I moved out to California to seek my fortune, which it turns out there wasn't one. So instead, I started working IT for university. That's my day job. And in between, I write fantasy novels. I've been married to my husband Jacoby, who's there in the chat, for 13 years now. We got
Hey,
married
Jacoby.
back in 2008. There was a brief window in California where it was legal before they passed Proposition 8, and then nobody could get married again for a while. So that was interesting. But yeah, uh,
I
been
saw
married
that.
13
I
years.
saw that. I saw that in your bio, and I thought that was such a cool thing and such a like amazing thing to be able to have been a part of and to be able to say, you know, that. And that, how was that? Like, was that not just like insane? Was it just like we got to do this, we got to do this now? Or was it just like I don't know, you know?
It,
Tell
it
us
would
a bit
actually
about it.
It actually was coincidence because we had decided that we just weren't going to wait anymore for it to be legalized, and so we set a date. And then by sheer coincidence, it
Hmm.
was briefly legalized during so we were able to get our marriage certificate with the state, and then the proposition happened, and we were there was a pretty small window. I want to say like
Hmm.
4 or 5 months during which people could get married, and then no one could again. So you felt kind of awkward and embarrassed because we had this privilege of being able to be married that our other gay friends couldn't have for a long time. So we were very happy when that was overturned.
That was overturned. Yeah, fantastic though. Still, I mean, what an amazing thing. What an amazing thing.
Yeah, it is lovely.
Um,
So we followed you out to the coast. You're full of dreams and hopes of making it big. You're now working in IT. How did you stumble into the exotic, exciting, dangerous world of furry?
Well, I first got on the internet back in 1995. That's I know that's probably before some listeners were born. Um, there wasn't much internet at the time, but what there was already had a lot of furries on it. I didn't know the furry fandom existed at the time. I found them looking up as much as I could about werewolves and that sort of thing, and eventually I found Furry Muck and made a few friends online that I'm still friends with today, and you know, gradually the online furry community kind of built up around me. And I've been part of it since.
Nice, very nice. And so, obviously you're now an acclaimed published author. Like, what was it? Were you always a writer, or was it the sort of the furry world that really sort of got your brain ticking and inspired you to start writing?
Oh no, I've been writing since I was a child. Um, probably 8 or so. I wrote my first story when I was a teenager in high school. I was writing a comic fantasy novel, none of which you will ever find out the name of or be able to see any part of.
We'll find it.
I have. You think so, but this is before.
Don't throw
it's
that
not
gauntlet down to the furry community. You know
That's
they're
it.
good for it.
You know what? I challenge you to try, but it has never been put online. So good luck.
Jacoby, we see you in the chat. Are you you free?
Yeah, he's our in. He knows where the hard drives are hidden.
He's
So
also
you're writing
loyal,
from a
though,
so you're writing from a very young age then, and that's just something that you've just, was that just an outlet, like a creative outlet for you, or was it just I mean, is it just something that's always interested you? Did you read books and think, oh, I want to produce a story, or did you produce stories around other books, or is it comic book characters? How did it all start?
I came from a very large family, and it was very and I came from a large family that was, I didn't recognize growing up that they were very unusual, but they're very unusual people, and I was more unusual than them. So they would all congregate in the living room to watch Rescue 911 or Cops, and none of that interested me. So I would be out on the back porch with my computer. My room was the back porch. It's a long story. I was basically Cinderella. I was back there on my little 286 writing. I think probably around that time, maybe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan fiction.
Wicked.
I love turtles.
That was where I really started to take it seriously. There were important stories about the turtles that needed to be told. No one was doing that.
This is it. I need to see these
important backstory
stories.
that needed filling in here.
Exactly.
They grew very
amazing
large, an
because-
astonishing percentage at the time. It was odd.
Exactly. There's an untold story there. Now, one of the things I was hoping to do today with the sort of time we have is to do a little bit of a kind of arc across the span of the creative process for you, like starting at the very kind of initial start of it, and then kind of ending in publishing. And we can kind of touch across all these different touch points of that process, and maybe ask a few questions. And if anyone again in the chat has any questions, you can jump in. So logically, I was thinking, is the best place to start where you're just sitting around, you've got 101 ideas coming to you, you've probably got ideas popping into your head all the time. How do you know which is going to be the one that's going to be your next story, or is going to be the next thing that really inspires you? Like, how do you hone them down to like the one that you go that really stands out for you?
Well, it's the one that comes back the most. When you're writing a novel, that's going to take you 3 to 4 months just to get a first draft out if you're really dedicated and working on it all the time. Which, you know, real life being what it is, it can be hard to work on a novel nonstop. So during all that time, I have lots of ideas about things that I wish I could write about, but I'm still busy working on the novel. And then after you finish it, you've got another 5 or 6 months of editing, etc. So you have a lot of ideas during that time. The ones that come back over and over, the ones that you think about and develop and get excited about during this time, those are the ones that then you winnow them down, and you pick what your next thing is going to be. I don't think you should ever, you know, choose the idea that you're not actually excited about, because people will be able to tell when they read if you're writing something that didn't motivate you or grab you.
Nice.
So,
and when
yeah.
you're sort of off, you've picked that idea a little bit and you're off. Does often that will see you through the whole process, or are there times when you just get maybe halfway through and you lose the love of the idea a bit? You just get a bit bogged down and you've lost it a bit, and then do you have multiple little half-baked stories, or are you one of these people that like, no, once I'm on it, I get that story done?
Well, a novel really does require dedication, and I will tell you that every novelist that I've ever spoken to says that for every book, they get middle book syndrome, which is you get 30 or 40,000 words into the story, into the book, and the idea, which was once so exciting and fresh, now seems like a stale boring retread. You're it would be fresh to someone else because they haven't seen it before, but you've been living with it for a month and a half, and it just doesn't seem that interesting or exciting anymore. So at that point, it's about having faith in the vision, having faith in the writing process. That as you proceed, as you keep working on it, um, it's new ways to re-examine, to revisit the parts of it that made you excited will occur to you, and that the final book is going to be worth it, even though your enthusiasm for the freshness of the idea has waned.
And do you find you have to kind of keep reminding yourself to stick to the core idea? Because while you were talking, it reminded me of a creative director I used to work with, and he would, throughout the course of a project, keep getting bored of the idea and keep changing it, and would come in the next day and be like, no, it's dull. We should do it this way. And so a project would do about changes of directions 3 or 4 times during it, and it was usually a bit of a mess, if I'm honest. So do you ever find yourself like having to go, no, like trust in the original idea, that's the one we're seeing with, or do you go like, no, I want to change it, I want to go in this direction now?
Well, every writer has their own method for handling this. Some writers are pantsers, which means they just sit down and write what they thought of for the day, and that method can be effective because you're always that creativity is always sparking ideas, taking the story in unexpected directions. But it requires a lot of work at the end to edit it, to remove the things that haven't contributed to the storyline and character arcs that you thought of. So you really have to do a lot of work to rewrite it and put it in the shape that it needs to be for an audience. Um, Outlining means that basically you're deciding beforehand what the general structure of the story is going to be, and I tend to outline a little bit more, but I do a really loose outline. The way I describe it is, imagine that you're standing on a cliff, and you're like, I'm going to go on a 3-day hike, and I'm going to get to that mountain over there. This is my starting point. I can see where my ending point is. I can see that there's a forest over there, and there's a bog and a canyon. So in some way, I'm going to have to deal with those little mini adventures on the way to the mountain. So I know those are coming. Those are kind of your outline points, but it still allows plenty of room for texture and exploration when you're on the ground, when you're moving through the day-to-day things. So for me, that really hybridizes the the benefits that you get from having a structure, which keeps the story on track and cohesive, while allowing for creative sparks to take you down maybe a detour or into an area that you hadn't expected.
And what format are you doing then? Is that just is that a Word document that you're just writing these out, or is it Post-it notes on a wall, or a mad conspiracy wall with red string between everything?
I have used the Post-it notes for the most recent project because my new book, which is coming out, which is God of Fire, is the final book in my Fire Bears trilogy. And at that point, I had something like 7 different points of view and 3 major story arcs that all needed to line up. And that can be really challenging because character arcs, and story narrative arcs, they tend to slow down in the same spots and pick up in the same spots. And if you line all those up next to each other, it can get really boring because you're like, here's a part where all the characters are suffering and not getting anywhere. And I go from one chapter to the next, and each of those characters, oh, here's more of this. So laying out those chapters in a way that keeps the reader engaged is just so much more complex. It was definitely a big challenge writing that book. So each of my chapters I had Post-it notes for, and I'd move them about on my plot arc. It's a trick that Kyle Gold showed me, came over and helped me with to help me try to structure um, a novel that complex better. So I do use that, but mostly I just write up my outline in Word, and I refer to it. And one of the advantages of that for me is, working a day job and then leaving the day job to go do a second job. You can be really, really tired, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to think of what's going to happen. So if I have my outline planned out, I don't have to do that creative work. I don't have to sit down and go, now I have to think about what happens to the character today. I already have the plan, so I can just begin writing to the plan until the creativity wheels shake off their rust and start turning again.
And I was thinking as well, like, so as a bit of advice to the listeners as well, like, in your opinion, what are the most important things to be getting right or to do before you sit down and start writing? Or do you think it varies for the individual?
I think it does vary. Everyone has different entry points for stories. So Kyle, it's all about the characters for him, and he needs to understand what his basic character arc, his basic character motivations are going to be. You know, and you do need to have those things down, but your entry point can be different. My entry point is the world. I need to know what kind of world the characters live in and what's going on in that world before I understand what challenges the characters would be facing and what their goals might be. So it's just different entry points for different writing styles.
Oh, nice. And so now I was going to ask your advice on this because I'm sure other people have had this situation before. I'm sure you've been in it where someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, I've got a great idea for a story." And you go, "Yeah, cool. What is it?" And then they talk to you for about an hour of an entire world and series that they've built all in their heads. And it's a 30 novel saga. There's intrigue, there's conspiracy, there's backstabbing. It spans time and space, multiple cultures, multiple races, and you go, "Okay, have you written anything?" They're like, "No, not yet." What's your advice to those people out there? Like, what do you say to them when they give you this great big thing that's all in their heads?
Don't. There you go.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
That wasn't a jab at you, Lucas.
Well, I don't want to discourage anyone, and I don't want to discourage anyone who might have a different process than I do by assuming that because they're not using my process, it's not going to work for them. They might have something that works for them. However, actually doing the work, beginning to write, sitting down and actually writing it is important. The one thing that I try to caution people on is that the first book that you write is, unless you're some kind of savant, is probably not going to be one that you will be glad you shared with other people later on. So you should be prepared for that, prepared for the first book to be a learning experience. That doesn't mean that it's not worthwhile and you shouldn't be proud of it, because there are millions and millions of people, and as soon as you say you're a writer, they will say, "Oh yeah, I've been thinking about writing a book one day." There are many, many people out there thinking about writing a book one day. But even if you do it and you put it in a drawer and never share it with anyone, you're no longer one of those people. You're a person who has written a book. You acted on that, and you know, that's magnificent. Um, so I encourage you, if you are a person thinking about writing a book, to become the person who's written a book. And then if you find that that process was rewarding and engaging, write the next book, and the next book will be better. They say, there's a general kind of truism spread by many writers, including I think Stephen King was one of the ones that propagated it, that you have a million bad words inside you that you have to write out before you can get to the good ones. So
I like that.
that roughly corresponds to the kind of 10,000 hours on something to get good at it theory. Just remember, writing, just like art, just like visual art, writing is a craft. Um, and you will not be good at it when you start. There will be things that you don't know how to do, that it never even occurred to you that it would be necessary to know. Like, how much space on a page do you spend in each part of an action scene so that the action scene flows in a way that doesn't go too quickly but maintains tension for a reader. No one can teach you that. You just have to sit down and try things and see what works. So there's a thousand and one things that you just haven't considered when you're writing a story that you're going to have to figure out how to do.
Yeah, for sure. I remember hearing, I think it was Neil Gaiman saying that, like, writers, if you're a writer, it's a verb. You should be writing, like, and then you're doing it. And also to try your best to like start, finish, and end, like start, middle, and end a novel, even if it's rushed, even if it's a bit rubbish. At least you've then completed something and you have a thing, and then you can improve it or you can move on to the next thing. But you should just write and get it, and just get all of this stuff out of your head a little bit and start moving.
Definitely. And that finishing part is important, because I know there are a lot of people that start novels and then they keep going back to the beginning and just rewriting the beginning over and over and over. It's like I can't get the beginning right, and you never will. You won't be able to get the beginning right until you've finished the book. Then you'll go back and rewrite the beginning so that it fits. You just it's going to be one of the hardest things, and you have to complete work so that you can learn from it, you can let it go, and take the lessons that you learned from that on to the next thing. You're never going to write the perfect book. I think there's a kind of toxic narrative about writers that exists in Western culture, which is this idea of the genius writer who pulls out his ancient typewriter and shares his brilliant ideas with the world. He's never written a book before, but he turns out the great American novel and is celebrated as the next, John Steinbeck or what have you. I don't think that really exists, or if it does, it's very rare and shouldn't be aspired to. Like, you should treat writing as though it were a craft and not um, Athena springing forth from the forehead of Zeus.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. There's a saying, isn't it, that everyone has a novel in you, and then everyone just assumes that, well, therefore, all I have to do is just one day sit down and that novel will come out. And I don't know if that's entirely true. Like, if you can just sit down and a novel will spew from you.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think for most people it is. There, like I said, there are rare people who will just have that facility with words and ideas, and also estrangement from the dominant cultural narrative that allows them to interrogate it and turn it around in ways that are fresh for people. But I think they're a wide exception and not generally how good novels are written.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, do you do a lot of research for your novels as well? I know they're obviously in different fantastical worlds, but do you find yourself researching a huge amount, or are you a little bit like, it's my world, my rules?
It depends on the world, but generally obsessively, and that's partly because research sparks creativity and ideas. So even if I find something, even if I don't find what I'm looking for, I might find a real world thing that I was like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if instead of that, this? I can't tell you how much time I spent trying to figure out which plants existed in Africa in like 6000 BC, because there's been so much migration of plants. Like, did bananas exist there? Probably not. Like what's what would people have been able to eat and use that far back? And it's can be really difficult to figure that out, and probably not worth the effort. But I don't know. It's something that I can't stop myself from doing.
I mean, is that also a little bit frustrating though, when you think like, well, I've had, like, I've cleared my schedule for Saturday afternoon to write, and I've spent the whole day, like, researching African swallow migration. Do you get frustrated yourself, or are you like, no, this is fine, it's just part of the process?
No, it's the latter. I do treat everything, even sitting and even if I don't put anything down, if I'm just going on a walk and trying to sort out character arcs and what my narrative beats are going to be, that's all writing, not just the part where I'm putting words down on paper. It's all writing.
I find the best
wow.
place to do that is the shower. I know it's weird, but there you go.
No, I get. Well, I mean, you're increasing circulation, oxygen to the brain. It makes perfect sense. Showers are great. Anything where your body can engage in a mindless task, and your brain can kind of wander. So driving down back roads, or I get a lot of ideas just driving, or I did back when we still could drive places. And also exercise. I get a lot of ideas in the gym.
I think that's it. There's something about those moments where you tune your brain out, gives a little bit of breathing room for an idea to appear and flood in. Because as a designer in my day job, I went through this phase where I was like, why do my best ideas come when I go to the bathroom? Like, I started thinking, like, is there some magical process that, when I'm touching myself, the best ideas appear in my brain? Maybe I should be doing this more. And I thought, well, actually, maybe it's just because the first time I'm just actually getting out of that headspace. I'm thinking about something else, and that's going to allow an idea to pop in.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, if in doubt, just touch yourself.
Good advice.
That's what I do every day.
Problematically,
I
Annie.
doubt saying quite often. I
Problematically.
doubt myself a lot.
I would advise putting that on a T-shirt.
Put me off guard there.
Yeah, not in your Postman, Annie. That's going to get you fired. I
Oh,
doubted
God, yeah.
myself. I
All the
needed
talk
it.
of old ladies and touching myself. Yeah, exactly. Don't.
Sorry, Annie. I've been taking over this chat, Annie. You ask a question.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to jump in. I want to jump in.
Go for it.
So,
Go for it.
I heard you were talking a lot about researching, and it came into my head, and I'm sure we'll get into it a lot. Obviously, characters make up a novel as much as a world does. You know, your characters and the way they act around each other and their relationships and their story arcs, etc. In your opinion, what makes for a great character? You know, is there certain traits in a person or an animal, or I mean, you know, it's endless when you're writing. What makes someone interesting, do you think?
Right. Well, I mean, of course, when we're talking Western narratives, because they tend to be a bit different. But I would say, you know, there are a lot of elements that characters need. Agency, which is their ability to make decisions for themselves and pursue their own agendas, as opposed to just being in service to someone else's agenda, is important. Concrete motivations, so something specific that they want to get, that you can know when they got it, so that you can be rooting for them to get it. It doesn't have to be something big. You could save the world, or you could be trying to get a ham sandwich, and each of those plots can be equally tense. But for me, what makes for a great memorable character that really engages the reader is the mistakes that they make. I think mistakes make great characters. They will frustrate your reader. They will get angry at the character, but they will want to keep reading because they will want to see how that mistake affects their lives and how they correct it, if they can.
Everybody
So I
hates
think-
somebody who is worse than they are.
Do they?
Mm.
Or do they hate people who are better than they are?
Oh, well, yeah.
Definitely better. Yeah.
Not the
I would
same.
say
Maybe we
that.
just hate everyone.
Definitely not on
I mean,
parallels.
I think there's something about, you know, you want to read a book where someone is fallible and makes mistakes, because then they're relatable, because we all make mistakes, as opposed to
Right.
reading a book where it's like, bloody goody two shoes here, never puts a foot wrong. The whole novel, it's boring. It's got to be boring just reading someone who's perfect.
And the fundamental element of a Western narrative is that it is a moment of change. And usually it's a moment of change in a character, the point where their old life becomes some kind of new life, in some way. So you can motivate that change through their flaws, or you can make their flaws be the reason that they need to change. But one way or another, I think the mistakes that they make are what make that character really interesting.
Cool.
And do you? Yeah. So I
ever
was just gonna
meet-
say. I'm gonna steal again. I was gonna say, do you
in.
figure out just it was a build on your question? That's what I'm going with. Do you plan that stuff in advance, or does that come to you like as you're writing, like those character that, you know, fleshing that character out, or do you have them kind of rounded out and you know who they are before you even begin?
Yeah, I think other writers, different, perhaps better writers than me, can do it more organically. But I find that I really need to plan out a character's flaws, motivations, and strengths before I start writing, or I just won't write interesting characters. So I have to do that. I do have to do that beforehand. Yes. And it's worth pointing out that often a character's flaws and strengths are two sides of the same coin. The things that make us really, really good at one thing tend to make us bad at another. If you know, if you can
There's always
punch
a
through
balance,
every,
isn't-
if you can punch through every door, you're probably not very good at opening them.
And do you do? And I suppose do you also have to then figure out, in the context of if you have multiple characters in the story at once, do all these characters balance, as opposed to crap, I've got like 3 characters who are kind of essentially the same. Like, do you have an amount of like having to balance it all out so that there is texture throughout the whole cast of the book?
There's the concept of other characters serving as foils. So they have opposing strengths and weaknesses that draw that your principal character or characters into contrast, and I think that's important.
Sure, Annie, ask a question before I start shouting again.
I wanted to ask: have you ever invented or created a character and then met someone in real life and been like, "This is a fucking spitting image of a character I've written in a book"? It's such a simple
Get back
question,
into
but
the
it's
book.
but seriously, like, yeah, literally, have you done that, or have you met someone and found them extremely interesting and gone, holy shit, imagine this person in this world that I've created, how funny they would be, or like, do you get inspired by people, and have you ever had one of those weird moments where you've invented a character and you've literally met them in real life and probably not said anything to them, but just thought, fucking hell, what are the chances?
I can't say that I've met someone that my characters remind me of in real life, and maybe that speaks to something. Maybe I should be writing more realistic characters, but the characters that I write tend to be sort of outsized personalities that you are maybe less likely to run into. I have had moments where I suddenly realized much, much later that a character that I'd written into a book was actually a reflection of someone from my past. Um, but in general, I think one thing that I do need to get better at is being more observational around real people and picking up their personality traits, dialogue tics, gestures, behaviors, those kind of things, so that I can write more realistic characters. I think that's something I could get better at.
One thing I like to do is, well, when we were not in pandemic, but what I liked to do previously was just to sit in a coffee shop. And coffee shops are a great source of inspiration for when you want a little thing to do with a character. So some people will just be sitting there on their phone and they'll be flicking their hair or something like that. And it's just this kind of thing which you can just integrate into a character as you're sitting. And it's really horrible cliche sitting in a coffee shop writing a book, but it really does work.
For sure, yeah. And then it's just that observation of real people is just something I need to get better at.
No, I was going to just aware of the time, like just because we haven't got to the writing bit yet. So I was just going to say, like, when you're actually doing the writing, doing the grind of it, how do you budget your time? Do you just grab any time that you can get, or do you budget it? Saying like, I'm going to do 2 hours and I'm going to step away. How do you manage your time when you're writing something so large? Like a novel.
I set myself word count goals for a day, and what works well for me is about 1,000 words a day. Not and I won't do this every day, but perhaps 5 days out of the week. And I find that it takes me about maybe 200 words to get the flow. And once I get the flow, I can carry that to 1,000, no problem. And often once I get to that point, then I'm eager to keep going. And if I am, then I will keep going. But that's a good rate for me to write. Your average fantasy novel is around 110 to 120,000 words. So that means that I can, if I'm really focused for that long, which is very difficult for me, I can finish a book in 4 to 5 months.
Well, that's impressive. But you're not getting distracted by, the flora and fauna of ancient Africa.
Right. If I'm not doing research or going on walks to figure out character problems, I will get Jacoby to go on walks with me when I get stuck, and I'll tell him my character problem, and he will suggest a number of ways to fix it, and I will throw them all out and say, no, this is what I should do instead. And it works amazingly well. I don't know why it has to be my idea. I can't take someone else's. But just responding to someone else's suggestions helps me to find that solution.
I'm completely stuck. Give me some ideas. That's a terrible idea. We should do this instead.
Exactly. Yes.
How dare you suggest that? Poor man.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't do what I do without him. He is a pillar of support.
He says it helps to get my ideas rejected daily. I have such thick skin. I intentionally make bad suggestions. Genius.
I love that idea of making the stupid suggestion. You're like, are you even taking this seriously? Yes, yes. All I'm saying is
Love it.
aliens. That's your solution for everything. And I was going to say as well, like, do you across your novels, do you switch it up a little bit, or do you find that there are certain like tropes or styles that you just quite like going like, no, this is just I like this style. I like these tropes. You know, I always like writing in whatever it is, the first person. I always like a narrator. Or do you kind of challenge yourself a little bit and mix it up?
Well, I don't. I think most writers are, except for those who are kind of the airport novelists, don't like writing the same book twice. So we're always trying to do something new and different. I do tend to prefer third person limited from my perspective, which is um, um, I think allows for consistent narrative voice, and but also for a narrator to be a narrator to be fallible, so you can exist inside a character's head without having the limitations of first person. Um, so I tend to prefer third person limited for my perspective, and I usually go with past tense as well. I mean each each point of view, each perspective, each tense has its own benefits and limitations. So present tense can be very immediate, which is both a strength for a story and can be a weakness as well, because if you're writing present tense, you can't exist in the past, you can't hint toward the future. Everything is what that character is experiencing right now, and so that can make the prose more evocative and affecting to the reader, because they experience things as the character experiences them, but also limited because it's much harder to bring in outside information if you're going with a present tense.
Yeah, present tense is quite actually odd these days. You don't get many books written in the present tense. I was just rereading Time Traveler's Wife actually, and that's in the first first person present tense, and it's very strange. Like it feels very odd when it's just like I pick this up, you know, like, and it just, and instead of just going like that person picked it up, which just feels a little bit more normal. Not normal, but you know, a little bit more familiar maybe.
Right, but it does provide that immediacy of sensation and emotion that come with that, because when the narrator says "I feel this," the reader is much more likely to feel it at the same time, as a sympathetic reaction to that.
Yeah, true. And is that something that have you written in that tense as well, or do you tend to go actually that it just doesn't feel a bit right? I'm going to go back to that third person because I've got a bit more wiggle room with that.
Not for novels, but for short stories, I've written short stories in every tense. In every tense, yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. Invent a tense. That's going to be your legacy.
Write a story entirely in the subjunctive mood. That'll be a trick.
There you go. Come on, what's holding you back?
have written-
Was that one of Jack B's
We're ready.
I have written short stories in second person as well, and I kind of enjoy that.
So how does how does second person sound? Like film like, well, how does that work?
You walk down this. It's basically you. So you were telling the story. It works a lot like a first person story, except you were assuming the reader. You're making the reader the protagonist, and
Right. Okay. With you. Yeah.
you can make them any kind of character you want. The only thing they can do is stop reading, or they can be who you tell them they are, which can be fun.
Very cool.
One story that I wrote that I deliberately chose the second person tense was a story in which a character realized that everyone in the world was a reincarnation of just one soul. So everyone that you see, everyone from history, everyone in the future are different, just different reincarnations of you. So all humanity is one person. So second person made sense for that.
Wow, that's cool. That's very cool.
Mind blown. In terms of finishing up with a book, I know you talked about structuring it pre-writing it, but do you ever, is there a moment where you go, yes, this is it, this is my finished book now, or do you keep revisiting it, or do you just give yourself a deadline and go, this is it, I have to finish by this date, and I'm not changing anything?
Generally, it's when I can't bear to look at it anymore. Generally by the time I get to the end of a book, I am actively hating it. So I will, I will go back and edit it as many times as I can. But rereading your own fiction is just the worst. It's like watching yourself on camera. It's just not something that is enjoyable. So yeah. It's done basically when I've gone through a number of editing passes, cleaned up dialogue, grammar, description, got rid of stuff that doesn't need to be there, got rid of all my repetitive word choices that I can find, sent it to my writers group for their notes and incorporated those as well. Generally, then it's done. And if there are problems with it, that's just fine. I will not write the next book with those same problems, is my attitude.
It's a good attitude. I was thinking as well, like it must be when you're writing a large series like you've done, there must be moments though when you're on the 5th book and you think, damn, I wish I'd done this in the first book because that would have made life so much easier. Like, do you ever like think that far in ahead with these big things, or do you then just try and make it work as best you can and just take it on the chin, or do a J.K. Rowling and just shoehorn it in and make it work? And say, no, that was the intention all along. No.
Well, with so the Fire Bears is the only really long series that I've written. And before Sofa Wolf would accept the first book, they wanted a detailed outline of the second and a rough outline of the third. So before I had my submission draft or my final draft into them, I knew how the whole story ended. And I knew pretty much how the entire second book was going to go. So yes,
Right.
there's always things that you look back and go, oh, like this character is so important now. I wish I'd seeded them more early on. But there's only so much you can do once it's published. You work with what you have and write forward.
Yeah. If only we could live in a world where you go, could we just republish that first book? Because there's a one line I just need to sneak in there.
The problem is all the people that read it. So you'd have to incept that into their dreams. It's like, all right. Yeah,
There's always a typo.
Exactly.
well, typos. Yeah, typos are going to happen. I don't care too much about typos.
And I think that's got to be the hardest part, hasn't it? Is rounding the book out and knowing that it's finished. Like, so for you, it's just when you're fed up with it, or do you have anything else where you rely on maybe other people to say, yep, that's good, and then you're like, okay, I've got confirmation from other people now, or is it just your opinion? Like, no, this is finished.
Yeah, no.
I'm saying it's finished.
Specifically as my writing group, the Unreliable Narrators. So they read all my books and stories before I do anything else with them and let me know if there's anything glaring that I've missed. Kyle Gold is very good for making sure that I've treated the characters well and noting any issues with thematic unity or places where things drag. Watts is great for noticing any major plot holes. He'll be like, but your entire plot could have been avoided if the character had done this one simple thing at the beginning. He'll notice that, and then I'll go back and rub my head. He's the person that Orson Welles needed to say, if he was alone and dying, how did anyone hear him say Rosebud? But Watts would have helped Orson Welles out a lot, I think.
Well, he wasn't accounting for the camera crew that was there. They heard it.
And Jacoby also helps a lot. he's my touchstone for kind of cultural issues and the emotional worlds that characters live in. He can let me know when I've taken a character too far outside of who they are, and he he's with me during the writing process, because a lot of times what will happen is I'll um, when I do my second read through, you always read your stuff aloud before you submit it, because you will be shocked at what is there that you didn't see or hear when you were reading it across the page. Reading it aloud, you're going to be like, oh no, I said the word 3 times in a row there and I didn't even notice. So when I read it aloud, I read it aloud to him, and at that time he provides feedback and guidance. It's really nice.
Oh, that's so sweet. Or he's fallen asleep, and you're like, oh well, maybe it's maybe we need to put an action scene in the middle there.
Well, I do it while he's cooking so that he can't. It's a trick I have.
Well, that's the trick.
He falls
You've
asleep.
got a captive audience.
If I bore him so bad that he falls asleep into the frying pan, then that's a serious problem.
Like, yeah, this chapter needs some work. I was Annie, do you have a question? Otherwise, I was going to ask about publishing. Did you have anything?
No, dude, got move into publishing because
Okay, cool. I was just going to ask because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have, that they've put the work in and they've written a novel now, and they're probably just sat there with it going, what do I do with this? So what would you suggest people do if they're sat there and they've just written their first novel and they're pleased with it and they've got some good feedback from their friends? What would your advice be for someone who hasn't published anything before?
So if they're completed all the critique process, done the rewrite, polished up the draft, etc., yeah, take it to a publisher. I think the main furry publisher that's accepting novels right now is Fur Planet. They're probably doing the most work publishing novels at the moment, and also in the fandom, one really valuable service that publishers provide is that publishers take your books to cons.
nice.
Which is where most sales happen. They don't happen online. They don't, no one. People do go to Amazon or to the publisher's website and buy your book, but most of my sales, the vast majority, come from conventions. So having publishers who will actually not just accept your book and say, sure, we'll throw it up on our website and you'll sell a few, but actually having publishers who will physically take those books to conventions to be sold is a really critical element in our furry world. So as you can imagine, not much has happened with book sales over the last year, but yeah, that's one of the most important things that they do.
Yeah, they're lovely chaps there as well at Fur Planet. They did my comic
really
back in the day. Yes.
Aw.
So I'm always going to champion Fur Planet. So just aware of time, we've only got a few minutes left, but I was just going to quickly ask you sort of what is it about writing that you love, and what about writing that you hate as well? There's got to be some things where you're just like, I just hate this part of it.
Well, I hate middle book syndrome for sure. Someone in the chat mentioned the anxiety of what if this isn't very good. Every book, every book it happens. You just have to have faith. You have to have faith that writing forward is going to produce something at the end that you'll be happy with, or even if not that, as long as you're writing something that challenges you, there's no such thing as wasted writing, because even if you don't put out something that you want other people to read, you've grown as a writer. You've gotten more of your a few more of your million bad words out of you. So I do hate middle book syndrome very much. It's no fun. And I hate writer's block, obviously. Um, I hate that writing isn't often recognized as a craft, that just anyone thinks that they can do it, that they can sit down and write. And it's very easy to see uh, when a artist has made a bad picture, but people don't find it as easy to see when a writer has written a bad story. So a lot of times it's not recognized as a product of years of study and work and practice to try to become good at it. So I hate that. But I love I love the zone. I love the flow. I love when characters surprise me. I love when I deliberately write myself into a corner just so that just to find the way out of it. That will be surprising. Because if I surprises me, who's sitting down thinking about it for months at a time, it's definitely going to surprise the reader who's going to spend a few minutes on a page. So for for me, the joy is in the process of discovery, writing that book and or story, and seeing who characters become and seeing what they do. It's I love it.
Amazing.
Awesome.
That's cool
awesome.
advice.
Is there any advice you could give to someone who's interested in starting writing and wants to get better at it? Is there bits, what's your top tip? Someone that wants to get into it.
Yeah, do it. Um,
Just
actually do the writing. Yeah, there you won't get better at it when you're not doing it. Um, there are critique groups online. There's a group called critters.org, which it sounds like it's furry, but isn't. You can basically earn critiques from other writers by giving them yourself. So that can be a great way to get discussion about the things that you're writing. Finding a writers group with people who are roughly of similar talent, which is important, uh, can be uh, can be invaluable in getting you to think about how your story is structured and how your characters are operating in that story, where you're relying on tropes. It's funny. Nearly every writer uh, will write will do this kind of the same bad tropes when they're first starting out. They'll have the character wake up in the morning. The story will start with by going to look at themselves in the mirror. This is it's cliche now. Even as a bad story moment, it's a cliche, and yet it's amazing how many people still do it. So having that writers group to bounce ideas off, um, critiquing from a point of view of always wanting to help another person's story get better and not say whether it's good or bad. That's very important. When you bring your story to a critique group, or when someone brings a story to you, the goal should never ever be to say whether that story is good or bad, because that's never helpful information. If it's good, you don't know what to do with it. If it's bad, you're just going to feel bad. But there's a story can always be better. There's always a closer uh, or a truer way to achieve what you were trying to do with the story. So when someone brings you for a story for a critique, your goal is to try to see what they were trying to do with the story and help them achieve it in a you know um, in a more honest and accurate representation of their vision than they did before. And I think that's really important. Critique groups, that is your goal. It is not to judge.
to judge. Yeah,
It is to improve.
it's a beautiful way of looking at critique, actually, and it's something that more and more people should do. You should never knock
Embrace
someone down for an idea
bad
or something. Yeah,
feedback.
exactly.
Embrace it.
Exactly. Well, Pendragon, it has been absolutely fantastic having you here. And when Tamwolf has allowed me to ask you a question, no, honestly, it's been amazing listening to you both. It's been mind-opening. And tell us about you've just released, or your final book of the trilogy is just being released now. Is that right? God
Yes,
of Fire.
April 16th is the release date for God of Fire.
Awesome, and that's available.
It'll be available from For Planet.com.
Awesome. And we'll post some links of that in the chat. But yeah, I mean, it's been amazing having you here, and amazing to be able to pick at your amazing mind and to hear your processes. And I hope if there have been people listening who who are interested in getting into writing or are currently writing, and I did see in the chat there's a couple of people who are currently writing books and stuff, do reach out. I mean, it's the beauty of the furry community is that there are amazing people like Pendragon who you can send a message to, and they will, where they can, they will reach out back to you. And it's amazing to have people like you within our community that help other people and as well produce such amazing material for us to all enjoy. So again, thank you for coming on today. And yeah, stay safe in this mad time. Hopefully we can all grab a beer at a LondonFurs meet at some point soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and it's really means a lot to be asked. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
Take care. Thank you so much. Well, it's a lovely way to wrap up things of this live session. I think we've just hit the hour 30 mark. That flew by, and it was it's a good one this week. Actually, I've really enjoyed that. Thank you again for tuning in, everyone. Again, we will now move over to the voice chat rooms and such. And we will, of course, be back in 3 weeks. Do check in, and we will update you with what's going on LondonFurs wise. And hopefully we'll be announcing our next guest in the next couple of weeks. Keep an eye out on the Twitter and all the usual social media bits and bobs. And take very good care of yourselves. Thank you again for tuning in. And Lucas, for this selection is making me laugh. Thanks everyone. Cheers.